struggle of being in your 20s. Gosh, any young adult has felt this in their life, but we are told a million different lies from the time we graduate high school to the time that we actually figure this out. But you will get a million different views on buy a house, travel, make new friends, take risks, build your career, start a business, do this, do this. And it's literally not possible. And what this creates in our brains, and something that I really struggled with before I moved to Florida, was I don't have my life together. And it's not I don't have my life together in the aspect that I actually didn't, but in the aspect of I had expectations from all these other people on what my life should look like. And it really started to wear on me. It really started to be a burden on my day-to-day life, and like setting out what I should be doing versus what I shouldn't be doing, what I should be prioritizing versus what I shouldn't, because everything you hear from all these different people in your life is different. Because you'll hear, oh, you need to settle down and focus on building a business and go to the gym and make new friends and travel and buy a house. But then you hear the other side of things that are like, you should travel and party and live your life while you're young because you're not going to be able to stay up till 4 a.m. forever. And all of these things started to really, really wear on me, because I had a view of one life that I wanted to be a part of versus another life. And it really started to get exhausting. They were just talking about in church last week, and this isn't even just applicable to people in their 20s. This is applicable for anybody at any point in their life. But they were discussing how we're constantly looking for more. And it's not, and I've talked about this before, it's not a bad thing. We are actually predisposed to look for more because we literally cannot be fulfilled with anything on this planet. Like, nothing here can fulfill us to where we are like, okay, I'm done. I don't need anything more. I have everything that I have. Think about it. And this was the analogy that they used in church last week as well. If you eat to the point that you are so sick that you're going to throw up, you've ate so much, you're extremely full, you feel like you could poke your stomach and it would just pop. Why? Because here in 5, 6, 8, maybe 12 or even 24 hours, you're going to be hungry again. There was no point, because you're always going to want more. You're going to need more food. You're going to need more water, no matter how much you overindulge in those things. So in life, even if I could, in my 20s, travel, build a career, build a business, buy a house, start a family, settle down, put everything into Jesus, but also party and travel the world and get to experience XYZ and live up my 20s. Yeah, I can do those things. And even if I could, but that doesn't mean I would have it all figured out. And that's a huge lie that we're told literally from when we can start comprehending what life is. You hear at a young age your parents talking about, oh, look at their house. Or a personal favorite of mine is, oh, well, his wife must love him. Or her husband must love her. It's funny how we look at other people's lives and we think that they have it together. But what we don't realize is none of us have it together. We're never going to have it together because nothing here is ever going to be good for us. And as I've kind of come to understand that, it's been really beneficial to my life, because now I understand that, okay, I might be able to go travel or I might not be able to buy a house in the next 5 years, right? But I have this moment right now that I'm spending with my brother, or I get to fly home to go to my brother's wedding, and I think that's really special. And so I get to focus on the little things that maybe we would ignore if we were highly focused on the next best thing. And in church, they talked about this as well, as being able to cherish those little gifts that God gives us, because even though we are predestined to always want more, God does give us these little gifts, like hearing a child laugh or holding your loved one's hand, and being able to, in my 20s now, comprehend that all of this outside pressure telling me what I need to do and what I don't need to do and what I need to prioritize and not prioritize and what I need to stay away from kind of lifted a weight off my shoulders, because it doesn't matter what all these other people think. I'm figuring life out for the first time just like they are. And now I get to focus on these little things that mean so much more to me than the end goal, right? It's all about the journey, not the destination. Another thing we just don't talk about is we simply don't have enough hours in the day to be accomplishing all these things. And one thing that I've realized as I've moved out of, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I definitely went through the party phase. I still go out. I have plans to go to a pool party tonight. Like, I try to balance a social and professional and dedicated life, which can be very difficult. And it's like right now I literally have an hour to film a podcast before I have to run to church. After church, I have to go to my friend's house to pick up a dress from her brand, which I'm currently wearing her brand. Shout out Gemma. I'm going to pick up a dress, and then I come home, I get ready, I have to walk my dog, get her all situated, then I'm going to a pool party, then tomorrow morning I have to get up and I'm going to go to church, and I just have all of these different things that I need to make priority, and so it feels like I just don't have enough hours in the day, and I'm stacking things back to back to back, and it feels insane sometimes. One thing that has stayed solid throughout all of my time since I graduated college, because in college, I majored in marketing and entrepreneurship management. So starting a business and being ambitious and being independent has always been on my list. I have the most insane 5-year plan. And I tell people a 5-year plan, they're like, all of that in 5 years? And I'm like, yep, we got to do it. I've always been very ambitious and motivated and want to stay on the go. And a lie that I was told going into my 20s is it's going to be time, like you won't have to work as hard. You'll be able to explore and spend time with your friends and figure this out and figure this out. And I think everybody experiences this differently because, for example, my brother was very smart and he lived with my parents for a couple years after college, and he was able to save a ton of money, work there. He's getting married in a month, and now he's going to be able to buy a house before I did, which everybody has their trade-offs, right? Like almost 3 year ago, or 2.5 years ago, I actually, it's like right around this time, 3 years ago, my lease was ending in Denver, and I told myself I'm going to move to Florida. So 3 years ago, I decided I'm going to uproot my life and move, and I'm going to do this. And as I was doing that and focusing and getting excited, we discussed this last episode, but this like ambition and me like growing and doing all these different things led to me losing a lot of people, me being alone. When I moved out here, I was spending so much time by myself alone, and thank goodness I found a wonderful guy when I moved out here that I spent some time with. And then after he left, I got my dog, and she keeps me company when I do get lonely, because in full transparency, I get lonely a lot. And I'm going to back up for a second because I love my dog. She keeps me very, she's a great companion. She makes me so happy, and I literally would never want to be without her. That being said, I literally just told you how crazy my day is because I have so many different priorities, and I also have to prioritize her. Like, she comes first 100% of the time. And so it is difficult because it teaches me that I have to slow down. Like, even though I'm ambitious and I get lonely and I have to cut out a lot of things from my life so that I can get XYZ done, my dog teaches me to slow down, because regardless, like, I am responsible for her being alive. and I want her to have a wonderful, happy life. And in order to do that, like, I have to slow down sometimes. Like today, I could have not had an insane next few hours, and I could have not taken her to the dog park and filmed instead. But instead, I wanted to take her to the dog park so that she got to spend time with other dogs, run around for a little while, because I'm going to be gone for most of the night. And so those kind of things are super important, even when you're being very go, go, go and trying to get things done, because everybody tells you in your 20s that you're never going to have this energy again, so you should be working 500 hours. And that's such a lie. That's such a lie. And I think anybody that tells you that you should be working crazy hours in order to get ahead in your career, it's just a different perspective, right? Everybody has their own perspective on life, but me personally, like, I job hop so that I don't have to put 90 hours a week into my career, because my first job, I was having to do that. So I went to a new job, and then I was having to commute, and it was a long commute, a dangerous commute. I was working long hours. So I found a new job. Then I was having to work in office 24/7. It wasn't crazy hours, but I had to work in office. And so I found my current job. And my current job, I have very flexible work hours, and I work from home. So I got to move to Florida. And I think optimizing your career and your ambitions towards the life that you want, and it's not even becoming rich in things such as like money. Because yes, we can all talk about, oh my gosh, I finally hit 6 figures in my 20s, or I finally at 22, I'm making 6 figures, or 23, whatever age you started making 6 figures at. But when you hit that, it doesn't feel like a milestone the way that being able to move across the world where you want to live does. Right. So a lot of the times when we talk about our 20s, we look at people that are grinding, absolutely grinding, working. I have a guy friend that literally, he goes into work at 7 a.m, and there'll be times I'm FaceTiming him at 11 and he's still at work. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he loves it. He loves it. And that's why I say everybody has their own perspective, but he's doing it for the money. He makes great money, but everybody, again, has their own perspective. And to me, I think being able to use your career and your ambition to get the things that you want out of life, not to optimize wealth or to never work again, or to be able to buy just the designer bag that you want, but to be able to live the life comfortably that you want and to have the freedom to do that. And every job has trade-offs. One thing about me, and specifically surrounding being ambitious, I am absolutely terrible about thinking that I can live 10 lives at once. And literally there have been times that I've sat in my room thinking about like, oh, I would love to be a lawyer, but I would also love to be a businesswoman. I'd love to do real estate, and I would love to be a boss marketer that works for Disney or Nike. And I would love to do this, and I would love to do this. And I really do think that you can live a bunch of different lives. I do think that. And I think you can pursue different careers. And a lot of people in their 20s completely change careers. So like, you're not locked into anything at any point in time. That being said, you cannot do them all at once. You cannot do them all at once. And even though I really do try to live as many lives as I possibly can, it is, like I said, there's just not enough hours in the day for me to be a real estate agent and a lawyer, and a sports agent and a boss ass marketer, and a great dog mom, and eventually a great mom, you know? So it's being able to take a step back and really understanding that, like, yes, I want to build a great life and I want to live several different lives, but it's also about taking it in strides. Content creating and podcasting was something I was definitely putting off. I could have started this as soon as I moved down to Florida, and I probably would have gotten a lot more traction because I was going out more. I was meeting people quicker. I was trying to like really get out there. And I didn't because at the time I was settling into a new job. I was settling into a new place. I was getting a dog, becoming a dog mom. And so I've been taking all of these things in strides. And as I've been doing that, now I can add something else because now my professional job I've settled into, even though it took me a while and I think I've made a lot of jumps at my current job, which is a conversation for another time. But all of those jumps led to me now being very comfortable, understanding the business very well to the point that I can add another stream of income or another hobby to my list because I have the mental capacity. And I think that's something a lot of people don't talk about because everybody says like you don't have the time in the day to be able to add XYZ, but you also just don't have the mental capacity. As somebody that has ADD, my brain is like a freaking carnival. Like literally it's like a carnival. I have the kind of ADD that I will sit there and be quiet and I have 5,000 things running in my brain. And as somebody that is very ambitious, has ADD, is extremely high functioning, I cannot add too many things to my plate. Otherwise I burn out. And trust me, I can add them for a certain period of time, but then I burn out and somebody catches my wrath. Like, it's not pretty. It's like, have you seen the movie, Inside Out? Inside Out. Yeah, it's like that, the anxiety one, like running around until the mad one just like blames somebody. Anyways, moral of the story is I am absolutely terrible about trying to live 5 lives at once. And I'll be honest, right now I'm doing that exact thing. I'm trying to prioritize cooking at home. I'm trying to prioritize the gym. I'm trying to prioritize my job and interviewing other places. I'm also starting a podcast and trying to increase my content. And I'm trying to be more consistent about going to church and leaning into my faith. So I'm living a lot of lives right now. And sometimes when I try to optimize this to the extreme, I have to let some things go. So for example, tonight, if I get done with church and I'm supposed to go to my friend's house and get a outfit and then come back, get ready, and then go to one friend's going away party, and then go to the pool party. That is a lot. And tonight, I can tell you right now, especially because I'm a little tired today, it will definitely end up being one or the other. And so it comes down to priorities and what I'm going to lean into. And I can tell you before I even started filming today, I was contemplating, okay, what if I just don't go to church today? But I have levels of priorities, and going out versus going to church definitely comes above that. And so when it comes down to ambition and leaning into the things that I want to do, I do very much so try to live as many lives as I possibly can. But where I warned myself, and I've become self-aware over the years because I've run into burnout several times, and my burnout is not like a typical person's burnout where they just need a day or two. My burnout can go months, and that comes from having ADD and anxiety and being so high functioning. As soon as I hit that burnout level, it's like you're back to square one. So like all the progress that you had is pretty much lost because I'm taking so much time off. And then the guilt creeps in of like, oh my gosh, but now I'm wasting time and I need to jump back into it. And so yeah, anyways, you can try and live 5 lives and you can manage them, but you have to take it in strides. I've learned that throughout my 20s, absolutely, as I've tried to do everything and ended up back at square one several times. And that's something God has really instilled in me over the past 6 years of my life. Everybody keeps telling me to really enjoy my 20s because I'll miss them. But I don't think that I'm not enjoying them. Number one, I just told you I'm trying to balance a lot of things. But even if I didn't prioritize a social life for travel or the next best thing that people talk about, I think what the ambition piece and being able to use your drive to try and live different lives leans into is the aspect that I'm not necessarily maximizing my 20s because I'm using my 20s to maximize my 30s. I mentioned before that I want to live 20 different lives. A lot of those lives are already planned out for the future, and they're very dependent on me focusing on XYZ in my 20s. And that means a lot of the times I will have to sacrifice going out or going on that trip or taking that job or staying at a job or staying in financial like comfortability. And I think a lot of people look at success in different ways. I've mentioned that. I think that's a reoccurring theme throughout the podcast, but a lot of people say that somebody is successful once they have the big house and the big family. And some people say they're successful if they buy a jet and a yacht. Some people are successful by just being able to take some time off or be a stay-at-home mom. Everybody sees success differently, and I think too often that we look at people's titles and their salaries to define their success. And success is not a measure of what you're worth financially or what your title is. Really, it comes down to what do you value? What are you looking to get out of this life? And a lot of people will say, like, what's the lasting impact that you've had on the people around you? But they talked about this in church last week as well. But literally nobody is going to remember you long term. It does not matter what you did. Elon Musk, the most recent trillionaire, he will not be remembered in 2,000 years on he will not be a household name. And that's something that we need to remember while we're optimizing our life, is that we need to be optimizing it for the happiness of us and the people that we care about, not for the titles, the money, and things that don't matter. And so I think the secret to my 20s and me figuring out my 20s is trying to optimize what's going to make me happy now, what makes me happy in 10 years, and what makes me happy in 20 years. And using all of that to be able to tell myself where my priorities should lie. Should I focus on building a podcast that hopefully one day will get some traction? Or should I focus on the job that's been paying me the same? And that's going to be up to each individual person. But I think what it comes down to is in my 20s, I've learned that you cannot live a million different lives at the same time. You can live them all in one life, but you cannot live them all at the same time. You have to take it in strides. And I've also learned that success isn't defined by what everybody else around you sees you being successful at. It's where you feel the most comfortable and you've optimized your happiness in this life.